right, guys, welcome to another episode of Injury Time, your one-stop shop for everything on Indian football. Well, what was that we just saw? क्या मैच था वो? Like the last 10 minutes of chaos where everything happened. उसके पहले के 80 मिनट तो oh my god, what was happening? But then that's how football is. It just comes into life at any time, and you that's the reason they say that the match is not over until it's over, right? And that's what we saw today. India coming out victors, 2-1 win over Afghanistan. That puts them that puts them second on the group, if I'm not wrong, because earlier in the day Hong Kong recorded a 3-0 win. So on goal difference, Hong Kong still stay on top of Group D. But it's pretty close now. Like India play Hong Kong in their final group stage match, and that would decide who would end up on the top and who will finish second. And the way it looks, even the second place team from this group has a really good chance of making it to the Asian Cup, given the goal difference and everything, all the permutation and combination that comes into play. We discuss all of that, but before that, let me just bring on board my panelist for the day. First up, joining him from Bombay is a guy who made his debut last time around, Floyd Pinto. Hey, Floyd, welcome to Injury Time. Breathe, breathe, breathe is what I'm telling everyone.
Exactly. I mean, you were just, the game was anyways on a knife edge throughout. But the last 10 minutes was chaos, absolute chaos. I mean, and again, we came out trumps with the 3 point. So everything's
Absolutely.
okay. Going on into the last game against Hong Kong, which I think is going to be a cracker. Yeah.
All right. That's Floyd on the match, but we'll need more on that from you. But before that, let me call on board my next guest for the day, who's like Floyd last time around is making his debut this time around. Sayak joins us. Sayak, welcome to Injury Time. It's great to have you on board. That excitement, that stress is still very much evident on your face. You need to breathe.
Yeah, man. Sometimes I think Chetri needs to get a Bharat Ratna at this point. Day in, day out. Injury Time should be the name of this game. It really
Not just the point.
at the end. Yeah.
True. Well, guys, first up, let me just begin by thanking both of you all for making some time out. Floyd, let's just begin, right? Coming into this match, we knew that, okay, there would be an opportunity for India given the way Afghanistan played in their opening match. And like you spoke in the last episode, could be a very, very open game where both the sides would have opportunities. And that's how it panned out for, say, good 80-85 minutes. And even when the last 10 minutes of chaos where India scored, Afghanistan was right back in it, scored right after, before Sahal could do what Sahal does when he's in his mood, when it's its day.
Yeah, it was a game of two halves, completely two halves. I felt we were well prepared, and Igor Stimac's game plan was to perfection for that first half. Because like we said in the last show as well, Afghanistan will come in with a 4-4-2, and they were well prepared with that. Having Liston playing in the hole behind Chetri, I think that worked really well with him creating a lot of chances, comfortable on the ball, turning defenders, getting fouls, free kicks. But then, we just couldn't get that support towards him. And then we created maximum of our chances on the wing through Ashik and Manveer. But in the second half, it kind of changed because the Afghanistan coach changed his shape a little bit. He went back to a 4-3-3, got a little more control in midfield, started the second half really well. But what that did, it gave Ashik and it gave Manveer a little bit more license on the wing, a little bit more 1v1 space. And Chetri had a good chance to score from a header. And that kind of, Afghanistan basically grew in the game. And for a little while, I was kind of worried. We were losing our shape. We weren't keeping the ball well. But then a set piece kind of opened the game up. And Sunil Chetri once again stepped up and put the ball in the back of the net. Afghanistan equalized, tremendous header. I mean, it couldn't be saved, no chance. But then, that dynamism, again, we got the substitutions right. And Afghanistan, as they poured more and more men forward, we got that space. And we had players who could pass and move finally, up front. We had Ashik, we had Brandon, we had Sahal, who were just moving and passing all around, Udanta as well. And that got the space for the goal. And I think that little snippet of 10-15 seconds before the goal is, I think, what we need to look at. If we can do a little bit more of that, be a little bit calm, be a little bit more composed, find the right pass, I think we'll create many more goal scoring chances and then score goals eventually. But it was a breathtaking game. Again, we come out with the 3 points, which was the aim, and now it sets us up for the final game against Hong Kong.
Well, Sai, what about you? How did you look at this match? Was this something that you had envisaged, something of this sort? The way the match panned out, is this what you had in mind when you knew India was taking up on Afghanistan in the second game? After what you saw against Cambodia and also Afghanistan playing Hong Kong in their opening match?
I think when we were playing Cambodia, we could see like we could not create enough chances. Like we were dominating the game, but we rarely came close to actual scoring chances. Right, the two goals we scored, one was a penalty, which might not be a penalty on another day. Second was a Chetri goal. So I think Steve Mark knew what was happening. So I think the gamble to use Colasso in the central areas really paid off. Like he usually does not play in that area, and it really allowed Akash Mishra to come. Like he was all mostly on the flanks, and even Ashik Kukurunia could go wide, and those causes are good. But one thing I would like to say is that the gamble to use crosses and corners were not working because we could see Indians were not physically as up to the mark as Afghans, and all the corners we were getting, we were basing them, and those we were managing to get the headers on, it was all wide. So I think corners and crosses are a typical way of scoring for Indian national teams in football. But yeah, like I knew it would take something out of the blue, like for Chetri to score a free kick, or like but I could see there was not an open field goal there.
Yeah.
And when Chetri scored, it turned the tables on, and Sahal did what he does, dribbling
Yeah.
past everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Floyd, I think what Saik spoke is something that he also touched upon last time when we were talking about the national team, right? Going wide and crosses from the wide is something that Indians are really good at and something that you would like to see this time exploit more and use more. Were you happy with the way the game panned out in that sense?
Yeah, I think, like I said, we got the tactics spot on. Then it comes down to quality. Now, because we played Jackson alongside Suresh, there was one man less inside the box as compared to the last game. So when you saw Akash, Ashik, Manveer whip the ball in, you had maybe Chetri, the other winger, and Liston little bit in and around the box. So there was a lack of support for that player to head in the cross or tap in the goal. And on the flip side, if you see the second goal, it was a combination play. We were talking about breaking teams down through the middle, staying a little bit composed. We scored out of it because we had
Yeah.
that kind of mobility. I know it's a little bit far fetched, but when Sunil didn't have his best game today. I think
Mhm.
Harun Amiri got into
Right.
his skin a little bit, under his skin a little bit, and he was not that dynamic personality that he
Right.
is on the pitch. So whenever Distant turned and looked out for something, uh, there was no runners in front. Manveer was too wide, Ashik was too wide, and Sunil was maybe at an angle on the side. There was no
Right.
vertical penetration, so to say.
True. Yeah.
So maybe that's something that we can build on because, like I said, the shape is good. It looks really good. We look really solid. We didn't allow Afghanistan to create that many clear-cut chances until maybe Gurpreet save in the second half. But over and above, I think the quality will come, like we said in the last session as well. The
True.
more
True.
these guys play with each other, the more they
Yeah.
understand their roles and responsibilities, where they need to run, where they need to play the ball, how to get inside the box, the spaces inside the box. And I think we'll gel well in the games to come.
Well, that's just football, right? The more you play together, the better you get. That's just football. Sai, but what about Afghanistan? Like, yes, India played well, but Afghanistan were no pushovers. They also came in with a clear plan and clear intent. Like that first loss to Cambodia, that didn't look like it bothered them much because they knew, okay, chalo, ek win against India, and they are also in with a chance uh, for making it to the Asian Cup for the very first time.
Yeah, like Cambodia are a side which are like 3 point givers. No disrespect to them. And I think Afghanistan next place Cambodia very. So Afghanistan needed a win here because like they already lost there. So a total of 6 points are enough to advance from this group as a second place team. So
Yeah.
so the thing was clear. Afghanistan had to win, and they like Afghanistan played like a team which wanted to win, but they were banking on a draw, like at least a draw, to somehow get the 2 points next, so that 5 points, and India would also stay on 5 points. So it would go down to goal difference. So
Correct.
Afghanistan were disciplined will be the word, because they really did not get much chances, and they were resolute in the first half. Second half they did start brilliantly. Like there were few chances in the second in the first few minutes. Then
Right.
the game slowed down a bit, and India again came back in the game. And after, like, just before Chetri scored the free kick, Afghanistan were all over India. Like we could see Indian defense struggling. Like there was a bit of panic or shakiness at the back. Like Jingan almost get the ball away to a guy called David on the right side, and there was Omar Popazai also. He
Yeah.
made a brilliant quick cross on right. So
Well,
Afghanistan had a
Popple Sai was really good with those crosses, like really,
yeah
really
yeah
exciting
yeah
with those.
yeah. So Afghanistan were great for 15-20 minutes, but overall they could not really do what they wanted to do. I think a draw was better for them, and worse for us, because they came from a loss and we came for win.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think Afghanistan are just as good as out now.
Well, that loss didn't happen. Their chances of making to the Asian Cup looks much more bleaker than what they did before the start of this match. But the starting 11, Floyd, we spoke about this, and you expected changes to be made. You expected experienced heads to come in, but not experienced per se, but exciting heads is what Igor Stimac named. Like Ashik Kurinen coming in, something that really pleased me. I really like to see him play in that advanced position that he does usually. Then you had Jeekson coming in. You had Anwar Ali partnering. Jinger in the middle of the heart of the defense. What did you make of the starting 11? Quite excited, right?
Yeah, I was initially I thought it would be maybe Ashik down the Manveer down the middle with Chatri dropping into the hole. I thought it might be just maybe it could save his legs a little bit as well. Back to back games. But then if you watch the game, if you watch the first game against Cambodia, when Ashik came on, he went on to the left and Liston dropped in the middle in Chatri's position. So kind of he carried forward uh, that role for Liston, but in a deeper position. And I think it's all down to analysis. That is why you look at opposition. And one of the easiest teams to prepare against is a 4-4-2, a flat
Right.
4-4-2. There are a lot of spaces in between lines. Jackson and Suresh were having fun with the ball in between lines, so they were passing and bouncing the ball for fun. Liston was free, never been wasn't man mark at all, and that changed in the second half. In the second half, it was Jackson, Suresh, Sandesh, Anwar, Akash didn't have time on the ball because all six of them were being pressed very high up. So it's a game. It's a game where we got the better of them in the first half. They got the better of us in the second half, but couldn't capitalize. And
True.
then Sunil Chatri said, "Okay, let me show you how it's done," and set us
Something
all
he's been
on
doing
fire. Yeah.
something that he's been
Yeah.
doing for quite a long time now.
Yeah. So as a coach, it was
How long
fascinating
do
to
you
see
expect?
the way they lined up, and but Afghanistan tried to intimidate us a lot. They were
Oh
very
yeah,
physical in the first
yeah.
5 minutes, but I think we answered that back
Beautiful.
with physicality and with a little bit of we just managed to stay on that line, not cross it and not
True.
be too
Like
relaxed as well.
it was very
They were
evident on
physical.
Ashik's face.
They were
Yeah.
physical even after the game.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, right after the game, I was like, "What's happening?" But it was very evident on Ashik's face. He wanted to give a bit more, but he was like, "No, I can't do this. It's just the start of the match." Well, Sai, what about you? How did you look at the starting 11? Like, would you have liked to see someone like a Brandon start rather than come on later in the match?
Yeah, the absence of Brandon and Thapa in the middle was really shocking to me. Like I did not expect both of them to go out. Like I was expecting Thapa to go out because he was not that great last night, and so uh like I so and the way Colasa was used in the middle was really
Hmm.
brilliant. Like as Floyd said, he was not marked as well. He had lots of freedom. He could
True.
do anything he want. He was even dropping down to our own box and collecting balls and
Yeah.
progressing the play out. So that was a new thing. I think it will work even greater against Hong Kong,
Hmm.
because against Hong Kong, I've noticed they really build up slow from the back, and
True.
they are not as agile, and they do not like to play high at the field. So I think Colasso's role, like today's, will be very important against Hong Kong, and I think against Hong Kong, 1 point is enough for both the teams.
True.
So so I I think Brandon will come back into the team against Hong Kong, and could also will again go wide. I think
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm expecting. And about the starting lineup, Manveer Singh was not at his best in the first half. Like he was not contributing much. Like most of the attacks from the left side, like Akash Mishra, Khulaso, Ashik Punya. But in the second half, we could see a much more proactive role from Manveer. He was going right out wide, and he even played a brilliant ball. Like he was played across the wings from Ashik, and he played Chetri. Chetri missed the header. So that was a great build-up, and he even made some great crosses. I think Roshan needs to come a bit more forward. Like in the left side, Pisha was constantly going out and supporting the wingers. I think Roshan needs to do the same. I think more proactive work from Roshan, and I think that solves the right side of it.
Well, that about the attack of Floyd, but what about India's defense? Still question marks about it. Like for the first goal that we conceded, yes, Gulpreet did not have any chance of saving that, but the guy who took that header was completely unmarked inside the box for a set piece. Even right after we scored the second goal, they had a chance of coming back and equalizing. Again, the guy who took the header inside the box was again left unmarked, and there were moments like this quite frequently in that match where the
Yeah.
defense looked out of sort. It looked out of place.
Yeah, and it's difficult to adjust sometimes because both the centre backs like Anwar and Sandesh were first playing up against two strikers. In the second half, they were playing against wingers, so just one striker. So it's difficult, to kind of adjust. But one thing, what we tell our centre backs is wherever the ball goes on the wing, you can't affect it. You stay in the frame of the goal.
Right.
You know, and I think at one point of time, Sandesh went missing where there was a free header in the middle of the goal, which
True.
was missed, and then it's down to Jackson and Suresh to come down and recover into that penalty spot area where the shot was saved by Gurpreet, from where the shot was saved by Gurpreet. So these are small things, small aspects. Overall, I feel they defended much better than the first game. There was a bit of organization. There was a higher line. There was a press on any time one of the strikers got the ball because they had the defensive solidarity and the cover of Suresh and Jackson playing around them. So Akash and Roshan had more freedom to move up front. So there was an improvement. Yes, it wasn't the perfect game for them, but I think again, if Sandesh and Anwar can play together,
True.
more matches, they'll get to know each other really well. And to be honestly, working Sandesh is a much more dynamic guy, and we know for him from his experience that he loves to control the defense. But
True.
having worked with Anwar, he just brings a sense of calm amongst everybody around him. That's
Okay.
his personality. The way he plays, everyone else around him will just calm down and just relax. That's how he is on the field of play. And so I feel that kind of combination, a fiery character with a little calmness alongside him will work for us. And it will also help our centre backs because if you look at Akash bombing up and down, it may be even Anwar telling him, okay, you go,
Yeah.
sometimes don't.
Yeah.
So that kind of, and the solidarity of Jackson being there to say, okay, you can go, I will be there. So
Got
a
it.
lot of things contribute to the defensive aspect. It's not just the back four.
True.
Suresh and Jackson won a lot of balls for us, recovered a lot of balls for us in midfield as well. So Manveer is outstanding, although he may not affect the game in the attacking third that much, but his defensive work is second to none. Ashik
Right.
is a hard worker. Liston worked hard off the ball. Sunil Chetri is Sunil Chetri.
True.
You have that kind of organization, a cohesion that is you can see it's coming in, and you never know what's going to happen in the next game because you might not play with a 4-2-3-1 or two with a two defensive midfielder role. It may
Right.
go back to a Thapa and a Brandon all over again, or maybe a Sahal coming in. So
True.
it depends on how he sees Igor sees Hong Kong. Because if you look at the game, even Cambodia created a lot of chances against Hong Kong in
Yeah.
the second half, something that they didn't do against us, which says that Hong Kong is there for the taking if you get at them. So a lot of things to look at, but definitely I feel from all the games in the group, they'll be tested the most in the Hong Kong game because
Right.
there's that little bit of quality in the final third that they have, and Afghanistan put a lot of men forward when it was desperate in
True.
the second half towards the last 15 minutes, but Hong Kong do that the entire game.
Okay.
Okay, there's always forward runners. If someone's receiving the ball, there's someone running ahead. I watched a little bit of the second half against Cambodia. So whenever someone receives the ball, you see someone running behind. So that's going to test us in the second game. So is our defensive line going to work? Are we going to be able to handle that? The movement inside the penalty box, are we going to be able to handle that? We'll see in the next game.
Well, you have answered a lot of the question. You answered a lot of the question that I wanted to ask you about Hong Kong. But before we move into that match against Hong Kong, this is what I wanted to ask you, Sayak. There is a Sana Singh who's yet to come into the side. Then there is a Rahul Beki who's to come into the side after injury. How do you look at the squad per se? Like, what is the best 11 that you'd probably have, say, from a defensive perspective? Because at the Asian Cup, moving forward from year after qualifiers, you would want to play teams who are better than you, where your backline, your defensive strengths will actually be tested to the tilt, right?
I think India has played a lot of games where the teams are stronger than us in the past. Like in the run-up to this qualifiers, I was thinking that we should play a lot teams which are weaker than us because against Jordan, against Belarus, and against teams which are higher ranked than us, we know what to do. We are playing for a draw. Most of the times we are playing for a draw. Okay, in Asian Cup, unless we get a Thailand, we are playing for a draw again. So I think Stimac knows what he has to do because like we have been playing such teams and the lack of scoring chances against Cambodia and Afghanistan also we could not get actual openings. I think that has to do with our defensive solidarity being that strong that we don't want to commit ourselves that much as we would like to do against teams which are weaker than us. So I think Stimac knows what to do, and I think I think Naurem comes into the team if he's fit enough because he is very diverse and that might push Thapa out again. But I think today's 11 is the best 11 if teams are weaker than us. But if teams are stronger than us, I think Stimac knows what he has to do. Like Bheke and all, like they like Bheke and Sana. Yeah, Sana is a key aspect. He is really defensively resilient, but Bheke is more on the attacking side of things. He likes to go forward and like assist the team, create scoring chances. So I think the back four doesn't really change that much. Midfields might be changed, but I think back four are the same.
All right. All right. There's still time to talk about that. Still time to discuss all of that. But there's one big game, one more match remaining in this qualifier, which India has to win. Let's say that, like a win, and you're definitely sure of making it to the, like you're making the Asian Cup. At least 2023, there is an Asian Cup that India will be playing in. Cool. What about that match, Floyd? You spoke a bit about Hong Kong, how they are a very attack-minded guy. But another thing that I've noticed in the two matches, like even today, I got a glimpse of the match against Cambodia and watched quite a bit of the Afghanistan match. What I could really understand from their style of play, they're guys who damn energetic, and that continues till the end of the 90 minutes. And Afghanistan are really taken aback because right from the word go, they were at them and they never lent off. And I think that's the only way they know to play, isn't it?
Yeah, momentum is a wonderful thing. It makes a bad player good, a good player really good, and a really good player maybe world class on the given day. So I think kudos to the coach for bringing in that mentality in these guys. And I think we can take that like what Sayak was mentioning about what would we be playing against bigger teams. I think one thing that what Igor Stimac has now is options to choose from. I think
Right.
he can pick anybody from that squad and they will perform for him. So it depends upon how he chooses to approach the game. I think today's approach was almost near perfect in the first half. And I feel against Hong Kong as well, if we need to play on the front foot, we need because the players that he has are suited to play on the front foot. Yes, we may concede a few chances, but we will we will gain much more than what we lose if we play this way going forward. So even against Hong Kong, I believe analyze everything. Whoever he chooses, whether he chooses Brandon, whether he chooses Thapa, whether he plays with a different back four, whether he rests some players thinking that okay, we could afford to do so. I think they will play with the same intensity that they played today, and it will make for a good game. And then it comes down to taking those chances and defending the way we did today a little bit better to against Hong Kong. So that is why I was looking forward to this game, because one team is at its peak right now. It's got such high momentum that I don't think their coach is ever going to tell them, okay, 1 point's enough, or we are happy with
Yeah,
second place, let's sit back and play. That's not
that's
going to
not.
happen. Yeah, and I don't think that
That's
after achieving what we've achieved in these two games, Igor is going to tell our players, okay, come on, let's sit back and let's just play for a point. It's never going to happen. So I think it's two
yeah.
teams that want to win the game, will go out to win the game, and hopefully in the first 5-10 minutes, like today, they'll set a tone. It set a tone today. We want to win. Afghanistan wanted to win for obvious reasons, but we didn't want to sit there and just absorb pressure. We were in their face. So I think that first 5 or 10 minutes will set the tone, and hopefully it's a game better than this. What we saw today, with much more goals and much more chances on target or something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely exciting match in the offing. Saik, I'll give you the last word. Floyd is very interested, very excited about that match against Hong Kong. What about you? How do you look at that Hong Kong match? How do you see that pan out?
Yeah, on similar lines really, because Hong Kong went 2-0 ahead against Cambodia in the first half. Against Afghanistan also they were ahead 2-0 in the first half itself. So they like to kill games as soon as possible. Like so, unlike Afghanistan and Cambodia, they won't be sitting back and they won't be playing for at least a draw. Hong Kong will play for a win because it does not matter, right? At this point, both teams are at 6 points, so the lack the no team's got nothing to lose, right? So I think the game will be really open. Hong Kong will come right at us, and if India just does manage to keep things tight at the back, I think India will have plenty of chances to score. And I think we are seeing a progression play here, like against Cambodia, we could create some chances, but it was not that great. Against Afghanistan, we came closer, and I think against Hong Kong, we will be creating much better chances. And I think it will might be a high scoring game, and it could go really either way. Yeah.
Well, it sets up really well. Both the teams have one foot in the door. It's all about pushing that door open and making it to the Asian Cup when India take on Hong Kong. Thanks a lot, guys. It was pleasure talking to you, and it was as fun as that match. The last 10 minutes, especially, was against Afghanistan. Thanks a lot, Floyd. Thank you, Saik, and thank you, viewers,
Yeah, yeah.
for being with us right after this match. We'll be back after that game against Hong Kong as well. Until then, have a great time and enjoy the game.